Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we'll be comparing a big Bronco Sasquatch to the baby Bronco Sasquatch to see which one you should buy. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Carl Malone Ford here in Park City for giving me some time with both of the Broncos. Link to the website in the description down below, link to my car buying guide too. Let's get into it. Powering the baby Bronco is a turbo 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed. Fuel economy is 21 around town, 27 on the highway, with power outputs being 238 horsepower and then 277 pound-feet of torque. Now powering the big Bronco is a turbo 2.3-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 10-speed. Fuel economy is 18 around town, 17 on the highway, with power outputs being 300 horsepower and then 325 pound-feet of torque. Before I move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now, I picked out two Broncos that I think are pretty similar in terms of equipment, right? We've got the Sasquatch on both of them. You can see that they both also have the little bull bars up front. But surprisingly, even on the Sport, you've got skid plate protection just like what you have with the big full-size Bronco. Now, tires and wheels are substantially different. On the full-size, you've got 35-inch tall tires with the Sasquatch package. Whereas on the baby Bronco, they're 29-inch tall tires, so substantially small. You guys probably noticed from the thumbnail with how my legs were super uneven. So there is a big height difference with the tires. Now, another big difference is going to be construction. The baby Bronco is unibody, and it's got independent suspension in the front and in the rear. Whereas the full-size Bronco is body on frame with independent suspension up front, but a solid rear axle. Now, space in the big Bronco is actually pretty darn solid. I mean, you've got a boxy design, so it's going to give you a little bit more vertical space. But surprisingly, when you stack it up next to the baby Bronco, which is a much smaller vehicle in terms of height, width, and length, the cargo space is smaller, but it's not that much smaller. The baby Bronco actually makes a really good use of the space, and being unibody means you can actually just use a little bit more of the overall space. There's less components and everything underneath, because again, body and frame, right? You've got the body on top of the frame, so you're just not going to have as much space as unibody construction like this. Now, the baby Bronco mounts the spare tire underneath the load floor in the back. So you don't have anything underneath or anything like that, whereas the big Bronco just mounts it on the rear, so kind of more like a Wrangler in that fashion. And you notice that you've got recovery points on the baby Bronco as well as the big Bronco. And the big Bronco actually looks like it's got a plastic bumper. This has plastic on the side, but that's real metal. So actually get some pretty hardcore hardware with the baby Bronco. But again, you can see the height difference. It's pretty big. And there's also a big wheelbase difference, so you guys can see with the rear wheels here, the front are lined up pretty well. So again, it just gives you an idea of the size. Now, in the back seat of the big Bronco, it does take a bit of effort to get in here because you got to step up. Again, it's a truck. A little storage there. I like these seats. Pretty cool. And you do have good headroom. Now, surprisingly, the space in the baby Bronco is not that much smaller. It is a little bit smaller, but not that much. And the seats still kind of have a cool rugged appearance, and you actually get quite a bit of headroom again in box design. It's not quite as big, but it's not that much smaller. And quickly looking at the front of the big Bronco, really nice trim there. You've got the mirrors fixed on the body, kind of a cool feature because you can take off the doors. You can also take off the top with the big Bronco, so much more interesting from that perspective. 945 is the payload, by the way. And then these front seats, pretty cool looking with the trim. I like the steering wheel as well. And then you guys can see we've got stuff like heated seats, we've got our climate controls built in, diff locks front and rear, trail turn assist. We have a crazy four-wheel drive system. When I say crazy, it's got a 2-speed transfer case as well as, you know, 2-wheel high and 4-wheel auto. It's got off-road cruise control as well. And then again, you got all the latches to pull off the top. So this is kind of more of like a traditional off-roader with all of the tech and everything. Now, I will say the interior on the baby Bronco, I think, is still pretty rugged looking. You got memory seats, which is fancy, blind spot monitoring, 918 for the payload. And you can see the seats here are actually pretty nice with the trim, power adjustable. Got a pretty cool looking steering wheel. Big infotainment system, that's for sure. Now, off-road tech's quite a bit different. So first off, I mean, look at the shifter difference. But you'll notice this is four-wheel drive all the time. You've got your four-wheel drive lock. You have a twin clutch system that mimics a rear locking differential. So this is kind of more about computer wizardry and modern tech rather than just lockers, like traditional lockers or anything like the other Bronco. So this is, again, a little bit of a different take on an off-roader. As equipped, the little Bronco stickers are about $48,000, and then the big Bronco stickers are about $59,000, so it's about $11,000 price difference. Now that is a big bend. If you did a Badlands Sasquatch with the big Bronco, which would technically be the big Bronco version of the little Bronco, because that's a Badlands Sasquatch, I mean, you're looking at like $70,000 for how most of those are actually equipped at dealerships. So yeah, pretty big price difference either way you look at it. Well, start off in the baby Bronco first, and then we'll drive the big Bronco second. They've got this little kind of like dirt patch, and I think it'd be fun to kind of see how both of them feel suspension wise on the little dirt patch. This is unibody, independent suspension front and rear, so even though you're going to have more force felt through the body, the suspension will isolate it a little bit better. The torque's strong. It's quite impressive, actually. Now the baby Bronco is actually a pretty cool little car. I'm seeing a lot of the, at least here in Utah, I'm seeing a lot of these. I think there's a lot of people that traditionally probably bought like Subarus and stuff that are now buying these little Bronco Sports because torque converter automatic, it's got good power, and it still has the off-road capability. And a lot of people actually prefer, I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people actually prefer unibody off-roaders nowadays. Again, part of it's because of the on-road daily drivability, better fuel economy. I mean, you guys saw the fuel economy difference is pretty big. Ride comfort and all of that. And then it's actually a bit of a challenge off-road with unibody because you don't have a lot of articulation. And so some people like the extra challenge that provides, where you get tippy and everything. I think I can understand that. Yeah, the torque of this is actually pretty good. You're not going to have crazy passing power with either of these on the highway because they're not insanely high horsepower, but not bad. Not bad at all. Again, the independent suspension isolating the bumps, I think, is a really big positive. Comfortable. I'm gonna go over that. So with the little Bronco Sport, it drives car-like, but it does have quite a bit of off-road capability, more capability than most people actually need for off-roading. Because you look at what trails most people are going down, and most people don't need 35-inch tall tires, right? Most people are just fine with the 29s that this has. It's pretty quick too. It's not bad at all. So with that being said, let's go pop into the big Bronco, the real Bronco, and see if it feels like it's worth the extra money, because there is a pretty big price difference. There we go. It's like, what the heck? Okay, big Bronco. So right off the bat, again, getting in and out, right, it sits up higher off the ground, so that's a little bit more of a thing. And this is important to note, the little Bronco, we just kind of squeeze through here, no problem. The big Bronco's not bad by any means, but it is a bigger vehicle, so you gotta kind of look a little bit more, think a little bit more, that's for sure. Now I will say, it's actually more uncomfortable over the little bumps than the little baby Bronco was. And a big part of that's the solid rear axle. Now the body and frame helps isolate more, but having a solid axle in the back it's going to just transfer the force straight across constantly. So that's going to lead to less comfort. And I can tell you right off the bat, way more noise. More tire noise, just more noise in general. It's less insulated than the Bronco Sport. For a body and frame convertible SUV, it drives really well and it's quiet, but when you compare it to a unibody that is not a convertible, yeah, it's quite a bit louder. It's quite a bit noisier. And then handling, it's a bigger, heavier vehicle. It's actually not too bad, honestly. Again, it does drive bigger though. It does drive bigger. You know what's surprising is the Bronco Sport actually felt like it has, again, you got a 4-cylinder moving 35s versus a 4-cylinder moving 29s. So this feels like it's not the worst power-wise, but it doesn't feel like it's quite as peppy. So there is a bit of a difference there. But I mean, the torque's still impressive, still strong. It's just not on the same level. So, which Bronco's better? Honestly, if you're not going to do off-roading, I'd get the Bronco Sport for daily driving and stuff. Again, the space isn't as different as you might think, and it is a little bit smaller. It's not that big of a difference. Body and frame pushes everything up, and it really limits the amount of cab space you can have compared to unibody. And that's why most cars nowadays are unibody. It comes down to packaging and comfort. The other thing, this is good for a body and frame. Yeah, surprising that Bronco Sport feels a little bit quicker. This is great for what this is, but yeah, the Bronco Sport is just a more comfortable vehicle. And the suspension, that new Bronco Sport with the Bronco Sport Badland Sasquatch with the reservoirs in the rear and everything, it's actually pretty good with the dampening. It's quite impressive for what it is. So, you know, you put ego aside and everything, and I mean, people will talk about resale, and I think that is important to mention, right? Body and frame SUVs just always have better resale value, so that is something to take into consideration. But if you're just looking at this from like a purely, you know, how much money am I spending on each vehicle, well, then what you'll see, and this is something cool that the big Bronco can do, a little bit of articulation. Anyways, then what you'll see is that the Bronco Sport's actually it's a better value, and I think it looks cool. I think the Bronco Sport Badlands looks really cool. So let me know if you go for that or the big one. I think most people are going to go for this, but that actually is a better choice for a lot of people with what it provides.